Welcome to my channel. Have you ever understood English grammar perfectly, but when real people speak English, it feels too fast, confusing, and impossible to understand? Don't worry, in this video, I'll show you how people actually talk in English in real life, and by the end, you'll start understanding native speakers naturally and confidently. Comment below what confuses you most when people speak English fast. Chapter 1. Why real English sounds completely different from textbook English. Welcome to the most important part of your English journey. I want you to think about something very honestly. Have you ever studied English for months or even years? But when a real person speaks English, your mind suddenly goes blank. You know grammar, you know vocabulary, you understand your English teacher. But when you watch movies, YouTube videos, or hear native speakers talking, it feels too fast, too confusing, almost impossible. And at that moment, you start thinking maybe your English is weak. Maybe you're not smart enough. Maybe English is just too difficult for you. But listen carefully. That is not true. The real problem is this. Nobody taught you how people actually speak English in real life. Schools teach you textbook English. Real life uses spoken English, and both sound very different. In books, English looks clean and perfect. Every word is clear. Every sentence follows grammar rules. But real people do not talk like books. Real people speak fast. They connect words, they shorten sounds, they change pronunciation. Sometimes they even break grammar rules while speaking, and this shocks English learners. For example, in books you learn, "What are you doing?" But when native speakers talk, it sounds like "Whaddaya doing?" You learn, "Did you eat?" But real people say, "Didja eat?" You learn, "I am going to," but people say, "I'm gonna." Now your brain gets confused. You start searching for words you already know, but they sound completely different. This is why listening becomes difficult. Not because you are bad at English. Your ears are simply not trained for real spoken English yet. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons learners lose confidence. Maybe this happened to you too. You prepare a sentence in your mind. You feel ready. But then someone speaks quickly and suddenly panic starts inside your head. Your heart beats faster. Your brain freezes. You become nervous. You stop speaking. Then later, when you're alone, you think, "Why couldn't I understand? I know these words." I know this feeling because almost every English learner experiences it. And today, I want to remove this fear from your mind forever. You do not need perfect English to understand people. You only need to understand how spoken English really works. Think about your own language for a second. Do people speak slowly and perfectly all the time? No. People speak naturally. They shorten words. They speak emotionally. Sometimes they speak unclearly. English is exactly the same. Native speakers are not trying to confuse you, they are simply speaking comfortably. This is why learning only grammar is not enough. Grammar helps you build sentences, but listening skills help you understand real people. And here is something very important you must remember. Native speakers do not focus on every single word when they listen. They focus on meaning. This is why they understand fast conversations easily. But beginners try to catch every word one by one, and when they miss one word, they panic and stop understanding the whole sentence. That is the biggest mistake. You do not need to understand every word to understand English. Let me say that again, because this can change your entire learning journey. You do not need to understand every word. Imagine someone says, "Hey, want to grab something to eat later?" Maybe you miss one or two words, but your brain can still understand the meaning. The person is asking about food later. This is how real communication works. Fluent listeners focus on ideas. Beginners focus on individual words. And this is why fluent people sound relaxed while beginners feel stressed. But today, things start changing for you. From now on, I want you to stop thinking like a student taking an exam. Start thinking like a real communicator. English is not about perfection. English is about connection. And another thing secretly hurts many learners: comparison. You watch fluent speakers online and think, wow, they speak so easily. I can never speak like that. But what you do not see is their years of listening and practice. Nobody becomes fluent overnight. Every fluent speaker was once confused too. Even children take years to speak naturally. So please stop attacking yourself every time you do not understand something. Your brain is learning. Slowly, quietly, step by step. Sometimes progress in English is invisible. You may feel stuck, but your ears are improving every single day. Every video you watch, every sentence you hear, every conversation you try, your brain is collecting patterns, and one day something magical happens. Suddenly, English feels slower. Suddenly, you start understanding sentences naturally. Suddenly, expressions that once sounded confusing become easy. This is not magic. This is training. And the good news is this: you can train your ears too. That is exactly what this video will help you do. In the next chapters, you will discover why English has rhythm like music, why native speakers shorten words so much, how conversations really work, and how you can finally stop translating every sentence in your head. And trust me, once you understand these secrets, spoken English will never sound the same again. So relax. You are not bad at English. You are simply learning the real version now. Chapter 2: The Secret Rhythm of English That Nobody Teaches. Now let us talk about something that changes everything in spoken English. This is one of the biggest secrets that many learners never learn, and because of this, English keeps sounding fast and confusing to them. English is not spoken word by word. English is spoken like music. Yes, real English has rhythm. It goes up and down. Some words become strong, some words become weak, some words become very fast. And when you finally understand this, your listening improves in a powerful way. Most beginners listen to English like this. They try to hear every single word clearly. They expect every word to sound equal. But native speakers do not speak that way. Native speakers stress important words and reduce unimportant words. This is why English sounds strange to learners. Let me show you something simple. Look at this sentence. I want to go to the store. Did you notice something? The important words are stronger. Want, go, store. But words like to become soft and weak. Native speakers do this naturally. They do not even think about it. This is why spoken English sounds different from textbook English. And honestly, this is the moment many learners start feeling lost. They hear all the words mixed together. Their brain cannot separate them quickly. Then panic starts again. But now you understand the reason. The problem is not your intelligence. The problem is rhythm. Think about music for a second. Music has beats. Some sounds are louder, some are softer. Spoken English works the same way. And here is something interesting. Even if you know all the words in a sentence, you may still not understand it if you do not understand the rhythm. That is why some learners can read English very well, but struggle badly with listening. Reading and listening are different skills. When you read, every word is clear in front of your eyes. But in real conversations, words move together like waves. Now I want you to think about your favorite English movie or YouTube video. Maybe you noticed this before. Sometimes one small sentence sounds very fast, even though the words are easy. Why? Because native speakers reduce the weak words. For example, instead of saying, "What do you want to do?" it may sound like, "What do ya want to do?" Now look carefully. The speaker is not trying to confuse you. The rhythm is simply becoming smoother and faster. And this happens everywhere in spoken English. This is why many beginners say native speakers speak too fast. But many times, the speed is not the real problem. The real problem is connected rhythm. And once your ears get used to this rhythm, English suddenly starts sounding slower. This is one of the biggest breakthroughs in language learning. Now let us talk about another important thing: voice emotion. English is not only about words, it is also about feelings. People change their voice depending on emotion. When someone is excited, their voice becomes faster and higher. When someone is sad, their voice becomes slower and softer. When someone is angry, words become stronger. When someone is surprised, their tone suddenly rises. This is called intonation, and native speakers use intonation all the time. Sometimes learners understand the words, but still misunderstand the feeling because they ignore the voice tone. For example, imagine someone says, "Really? That one word can have many meanings. It can show excitement, it can show anger, it can show surprise, it can even show sarcasm." The meaning changes because of rhythm and tone. This is why spoken English feels alive. It is emotional communication, not robotic speaking. And honestly, this should make you feel relaxed. Why? Because now you understand that listening is not only about vocabulary, it is about patterns, feelings, rhythm, and sound. You are training your ears like a musician trains for music, and this takes practice. So please stop expecting instant perfection. Many learners secretly think fluent people understand English because they are naturally talented, but that is not true. Fluent listeners simply spent more time hearing English rhythm again and again. Their ears became familiar with the music of English, and your ears can learn it too. This is why daily listening is so powerful. Even if you understand only 50% at first, your brain is slowly adapting. Every time you listen, your brain notices patterns. Slowly, English stops sounding random. This is exactly how children learn language too. At first, everything sounds confusing to them. But slowly, through repetition, rhythm becomes natural. And something very important happens when you stop translating every word. You start listening emotionally instead of mechanically. You start understanding naturally instead of analyzing every sentence. That is the moment real progress begins. Now, here is another mistake many beginners make. They only study grammar rules but never listen to real conversations. Then they become shocked when real people speak differently. But language is not only grammar. Language is sound. Language is rhythm. Language is emotion. And from today, you are finally learning spoken English the real way. I want you to remember something very motivating right now. You do not need perfect ears to understand English. You only need patient ears. At first, rhythm feels strange. Then it feels familiar. Then one day, it feels natural. And when that happens, your confidence grows automatically. In the next chapter, you will discover another huge secret that confuses almost every English learner. You will learn why native speakers shorten everything while speaking. You will finally understand words like gonna, wanna, and gotta without feeling confused anymore. And trust me, once you understand these reductions, real English conversations will start making much more sense to you. Chapter 3: Why Native Speakers Shorten Everything While Talking. Now let us talk about something that confuses almost every English learner in the world. You study English carefully. You memorize words. You practice grammar. But then a native speaker says something very simple, and suddenly your brain says, "Wait, what was that?" This happens because native speakers shorten words all the time while talking. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons spoken English sounds difficult to beginners. Think about this sentence. In books, you learn, "I am going to eat." But in real life, many people say, "I'm gonna eat." You learn, "Do you want to come?" But real people say, "Do you want to come?" You learn, "I have got to go." But people often say, "I gotta go." Now imagine hearing these fast sentences for the first time. Of course, your brain feels confused. You try to search for every word exactly the way you learned it in school. But the sounds are changing, and this is why many learners panic during conversations. But here is the truth that will make you feel relaxed. Native speakers are not speaking advanced English. Most of the time, they are simply shortening very basic English. That is all. The words are easy. The pronunciation changes. That is the secret. And honestly, people shorten words because conversation is fast and natural. When humans talk, they want communication to feel smooth and comfortable. They do not want to speak like robots. Imagine if someone said every word perfectly and slowly in daily conversation. It would sound strange and unnatural. Real speech flows like water. Words connect together. Sounds become softer. Some letters disappear completely. This happens in every language, not only English. For example, many native speakers do not clearly say want to. They say wanna. They do not clearly say going to. They say gonna. They do not clearly say give me. They say gimme. They do not clearly say let me. They say lemme. At first, these expressions sound scary to learners, but after some practice, your ears begin recognizing them naturally. And here is something very interesting. You probably already know many of these expressions. You just never recognized their spoken form before. That is why learners sometimes feel shocked when they realize native speakers are using simple vocabulary. Suddenly they think, wait, I already knew these words. This moment gives learners a huge confidence boost. Now, I want you to understand something very important. You do not need to copy every slang word immediately. Right now, your main goal is understanding. First, train your ears. Later, speaking naturally will become easier automatically. Many beginners make the mistake of trying to sound native too quickly. Then they feel frustrated, but fluency grows step by step. And another important thing happens during fast speech. Emotions change pronunciation too. When people are excited, tired, relaxed, angry, or emotional, words sound different. Imagine someone is very excited and says, "Oh my God, I gotta tell you something." The sentence becomes fast because emotion increases energy. But if someone feels tired, they may speak slowly and softly. Spoken English changes with feelings. This is why real conversations sound different from classroom recordings. Many learners secretly think they are poor listeners because they cannot understand movies or fast videos. But please remember this. Even advanced learners sometimes struggle with fast casual speech. That is completely normal. Fast English is not about knowing more grammar rules. It is about training your ears again and again. And do you know what makes this journey difficult for many people? Fear. The moment learners hear an unfamiliar sound, they panic. Their brain stops relaxing, then understanding becomes even harder. This is why confidence matters so much while listening. You must stop expecting perfection from yourself. Sometimes your brain only needs more exposure. That is why listening daily is powerful. Even if you understand only small parts today, your brain is slowly learning sound patterns. Little by little, shortened English stops sounding strange. One day, gonna feels normal. Wanna feels easy. Gotta feels natural. And suddenly, real conversations become less scary. This is exactly how language learning works. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates confidence. Confidence creates fluency. And let me tell you something motivational right now. Every fluent English speaker once felt confused too. Nobody understands fast-spoken English perfectly on the first day. Your ears are growing slowly. Your brain is adapting slowly. That is progress. So stop saying, "My English is bad." Instead say, "My ears are still training." That one mindset change can completely change your confidence. Now, another thing learners often do is translating every word into their native language while listening. This creates delay inside the brain. While you are translating one word, the speaker already says the next sentence. Then everything feels impossible to follow. This is why fluent listeners focus on meaning, not perfect translation. And trust me, this skill becomes easier with practice. At first, your brain struggles. Then your brain adjusts. Then suddenly you begin understanding automatically. That is the moment spoken English starts feeling natural. And here is the best part. You do not need expensive courses or magical tricks. You simply need regular listening, patience, and the right mindset. The more real English you hear, the more comfortable your brain becomes with reductions and connected speech. In the next chapter, you are going to discover something even more surprising. You will learn how real English conversations actually work. You will finally understand why native speakers interrupt each other, use small reactions, repeat words, pause suddenly, and speak in ways that sound very different from textbook conversations. And once you understand this, conversations will stop feeling scary and start feeling human. Chapter 4: How Real Conversations Work in English. Now let us talk about something that surprises many English learners when they first start listening to real conversations. Real conversations are not clean and perfect like textbook dialogues. Real conversations are messy. People stop in the middle of sentences. They repeat words. They interrupt each other. Sometimes they even forget what they wanted to say. And honestly, this is completely normal. But many beginners do not know this. They think fluent English means speaking perfectly all the time. So when they speak, they try to create perfect sentences inside their heads before opening their mouths. And while they are still thinking, the conversation already moves forward. Then nervousness starts growing. Fear becomes stronger. Confidence becomes weaker. Maybe this happens to you too. You want to speak. You know some English. But your brain keeps checking grammar again and again before every sentence. And because of this, conversations feel stressful instead of natural. But here is the truth that can change your confidence forever. Native speakers do not speak perfectly all the time either. Yes, even fluent speakers pause, restart sentences, and make mistakes during conversations. That is because real communication is about connection, not perfection. Think about your own language. Do you always speak perfectly? Of course not. Sometimes you forget words. Sometimes you pause to think. Sometimes you change your sentence halfway. English works exactly the same way. And this is why real spoken English sounds different from classroom English. In real conversations, people use fillers all the time. Words like uh, like well and actually are everywhere in spoken English. These small words help speakers think while talking. They give the brain time to continue the conversation naturally. For example, someone may say, "Well, I was thinking maybe we could go later," or, "It was actually really difficult." These fillers are not mistakes. They are part of natural speech. But beginners often become confused because textbooks rarely teach this side of English. And honestly, when learners finally understand this, they feel relieved. Suddenly, they realize fluent speaking is not about sounding like a robot. It is about sounding human. Another important thing happens in conversations. People use very short answers most of the time. In textbooks, you may learn, "Yes, I do." "No, I do not." That is correct. But in real life, people often say, "Yeah," "Nope," "Exactly," "Sure," "Probably," "Maybe." Short answers make conversations faster and more natural. And here is something very important you must understand. Conversations are not only about words, they are also about reactions. People smile, people laugh, people change voice tone, people pause, people show emotion. Sometimes a simple "oh really" can mean surprise, excitement, anger, or disbelief depending on the voice. That is why direct word-by-word translation often feels unnatural. Real communication is emotional. Human beings listen to energy and feeling, not only grammar. Now let me tell you another secret that many learners never notice. Fluent speakers do not try to understand every single word during conversations. They focus on the main idea. This is why conversations move smoothly, but beginners often panic after missing one word. Then their attention breaks completely. And while they are still thinking about the missed word, the conversation continues. This creates stress. So from today, stop trying to catch every word like an exam. Start listening for meaning. Imagine someone says, honestly, I was kinda tired, so I just stayed home. Maybe you miss one small word. That is okay. You can still understand the main message. The speaker stayed home because they were tired. That is real listening. And the more relaxed your brain becomes, the better your understanding becomes too. Fear blocks listening. Relaxation improves listening. This is why confidence matters even before fluency arrives. Now let us talk about interruptions. This shocks many learners because classroom conversations are usually very polite and organized. But real conversations move quickly. People react immediately. Sometimes they interrupt because they are excited, not rude. For example, no way. Really? Exactly. Same here. These small reactions make conversations feel alive. Native speakers use these reactions constantly to show attention and emotion. If someone only stays silent during a conversation, it can feel strange sometimes. And do you know what is beautiful about this? You do not need advanced English to join conversations naturally. Even simple reactions can make you sound more connected and confident. That is why simple English can still sound fluent. Many learners waste years trying to memorize difficult vocabulary while ignoring natural communication skills. But real fluency is not using big words all the time. Real fluency is expressing yourself comfortably and understanding others naturally. And honestly, this should motivate you deeply, because now fluency feels possible. You do not need perfect grammar every second. You do not need a perfect accent. You do not need to speak like a dictionary. You simply need practice, patience, and courage. And please remember this, silence does not improve speaking. Speaking improves speaking. At first, your sentences may feel slow. At first, your pronunciation may feel uncomfortable. At first, conversations may feel scary, but every conversation trains your brain. Every listening session improves your ears. Every mistake teaches you something valuable. That is how fluency grows, step by step, moment by moment. And the beautiful part is this. One day, without realizing it, you suddenly respond faster. You understand more. Conversations become easier. Confidence becomes stronger. That is the reward of consistency. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about one of the biggest transformations in English learning. You will learn how to stop translating every sentence inside your head and start thinking directly in English naturally. And trust me, once this habit begins changing, your speaking speed and confidence will improve in a powerful way. Chapter 5. How to Start Thinking in English Naturally. Now let us talk about one of the biggest problems almost every English learner faces silently. This problem stops people from speaking fluently even after learning grammar and vocabulary for years. The problem is translation. Many learners translate every sentence from their native language into English inside their heads before speaking. And because of this, speaking becomes slow, stressful, and tiring. Maybe this happens to you too. Someone asks you a simple question in English. You understand the question, you know the answer. But before speaking, your brain starts working very hard. First, you think in your own language. Then you translate the sentence into English. Then you check grammar. Then you worry about mistakes. And while your brain is still working, the conversation already moves ahead. This is why many learners feel nervous while speaking. Their brain is carrying too much pressure. But here is something very important you must understand. Fluent speakers do not translate every sentence. They think directly in English. That is why they answer quickly and naturally. And now maybe you're thinking, but how can I think in English? My English is not strong enough. Do not worry. Nobody starts this skill perfectly. Thinking in English is not magic. It is a habit. And habits grow slowly with practice. The biggest mistake learners make is trying to think in difficult English immediately. Then they become frustrated and quit. But real progress starts with very small thoughts. Very small. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can think simple sentences like, I am tired, I need water. Today feels hot, I am going to work. These tiny thoughts train your brain step by step. You do not need difficult vocabulary. You do not need long sentences. Simple English is powerful, and honestly, this method changes confidence slowly in a beautiful way. Because little by little, your brain stops depending completely on translation. English starts feeling more natural instead of feeling like a school subject. Another powerful habit is describing things around you in English. Maybe you're sitting in your room right now. Look around and think in English. The fan is moving. My phone is on the table. The room is quiet. These simple exercises look small, but they train your brain deeply. This is exactly how children learn language too. Children do not start with perfect grammar rules. They listen, they repeat, they connect words with life around them. Slowly, language becomes natural. And honestly, many adult learners forget this truth. They try to become perfect before becoming comfortable. But fluency grows through comfort first. That is why you must stop fearing small mistakes. Mistakes are proof that your brain is practicing. Now let us talk about another powerful technique that can improve your English faster than you imagine. This technique is called shadowing. And do not worry, it is much easier than it sounds. Shadowing simply means listening to short English sentences and repeating them immediately. You copy the rhythm, pronunciation, and emotion of the speaker. This helps your brain connect listening and speaking together naturally. For example, if a speaker says, I don't know what happened, you repeat the same sentence right after hearing it. Again and again, your ears become stronger. Your pronunciation improves, your confidence grows. At first, this may feel strange or uncomfortable, but that is normal. Every new skill feels uncomfortable in the beginning. Then slowly, your mouth becomes faster, your ears become sharper, and English starts flowing more naturally. This is why daily listening matters so much. Your brain learns through repetition. The more English you hear, the more familiar patterns become. One day, your brain stops feeling shocked by fast speech because it already knows the sounds. And here is something very important. Consistency is more powerful than motivation. Many learners feel excited for 2 days and then stop practicing. But fluency comes from small daily habits. Even 15 or 20 minutes every day can create huge changes over time. You do not need to study 5 hours daily. You need regular contact with English. That is the secret. And please stop saying, I am bad at English. Your brain believes the words you repeat. Instead say, I am improving every day. That mindset matters deeply, because confidence changes learning speed. When learners constantly insult themselves, fear grows stronger. But when learners encourage themselves, the brain relaxes, and relaxed brains learn faster. Now imagine your future for a moment. Imagine understanding English videos more easily. Imagine replying faster during conversations. Imagine speaking without panic inside your chest. That future is possible for you, but it begins with small steps, small daily thoughts, small listening practice, small speaking attempts. And honestly, these small actions become powerful over time. Many people quit too early because they cannot see immediate improvement. But language learning is happening quietly inside the brain. Even when progress feels invisible, your brain is adapting slowly. One day, you suddenly realize something amazing. You understand more without translating. You speak faster without overthinking. English feels lighter. That is the moment your hard work starts showing clearly. And trust me, that moment feels beautiful. Now, another thing you must understand is this. You do not need to sound perfect to think in English. Even broken English thoughts help your brain improve. The goal is communication, not perfection. If you think, "me hungry," your brain is still practicing English connection. Slowly, your sentences become more complete naturally. So please stop waiting for perfect English before practicing. Practice creates improvement. Improvement creates confidence. Confidence creates fluency. And remember this deeply. Every fluent English speaker once spoke slowly too. Every confident speaker once felt nervous too. Nobody starts fluent. The difference is simple. Some people continue practicing while others give up. Do not give up on yourself. Your English journey is growing every single day, even if progress feels slow right now. And in the next chapter, you're going to learn something that can completely change your speaking confidence. You will discover why confidence matters more than perfect grammar, and why many people with simple English sound more fluent than people who know advanced grammar rules. Chapter 6: Why Confidence Matters More Than Perfect Grammar. Now let us talk about something that secretly destroys the confidence of millions of English learners. Many people believe they must speak perfect English before speaking confidently. Because of this belief, they stay silent. They overthink every sentence. They become afraid of mistakes. And slowly, speaking English starts feeling stressful instead of exciting. Maybe you know this feeling very well. You want to speak English? You prepare sentences in your mind. But before speaking, fear suddenly appears. Your brain starts asking questions like, what if my grammar is wrong? What if people laugh at me? What if I forget words? What if my pronunciation sounds bad? And because of these thoughts, many learners stop themselves before even trying. But here is the truth that changes everything. Confidence is more important than perfect grammar in real conversations. Yes, grammar matters, of course it matters, but communication matters more. Think about this carefully. Have you ever met someone who speaks simple English but still sounds confident and natural? And at the same time, maybe you have also seen learners with strong grammar knowledge who still struggle badly during conversations. Why does this happen? Because fluency is not only grammar. Fluency is comfort. Fluency is confidence. Fluency is expressing ideas without fear. And honestly, native speakers themselves do not speak perfect grammar all the time. They make mistakes too. They restart sentences. They forget words. They use simple expressions daily. Real conversations are full of imperfections, but beginners often imagine fluent English like a perfect performance. This creates huge pressure inside the mind, and pressure destroys confidence. Imagine trying to ride a bicycle while being terrified of falling every second. Your body becomes stiff. Balance becomes harder. The same thing happens in speaking. When fear controls the brain, speaking becomes difficult. This is why relaxed learners improve faster. Now listen carefully, because this is very important. People usually care more about your message than your mistakes. Most listeners are not secretly waiting to judge your grammar. They simply want to understand your idea. If you confidently say, "Yesterday I go market," people still understand you. Maybe the grammar is not perfect, but communication still happens. That does not mean grammar is useless. It means communication comes first. And honestly, this realization gives many learners huge relief. Suddenly, they stop treating English like a dangerous exam. They start treating it like human communication. That is when confidence begins growing naturally. Another important thing you must understand is this: confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes because of speaking. Many learners wait for confidence first, but that moment never arrives magically. You build confidence through action. Every small conversation trains your brain. Every speaking attempt makes fear weaker. At first, your voice may shake. At first, your sentences may feel slow. At first, you may forget simple words. That is normal. Do not run away from these moments. These moments are part of growth. Think about babies learning to walk. They fall many times, but they never sit down thinking, maybe walking is not for me. They continue trying. Slowly, balance improves. Speaking English works exactly the same way. And please remember this deeply: your accent does not make you weak. Many learners feel ashamed of their accent. They compare themselves to native speakers and lose confidence. But accents are normal. Every person in the world has an accent. Even native speakers from different countries sound different from each other. Your goal is not sounding perfect. Your goal is being understood confidently. That is real communication. And honestly, confidence itself improves pronunciation over time. When learners become relaxed, their speech becomes smoother naturally. Fear makes speech tight and uncomfortable. Relaxation makes speech clearer. Now let us talk about another hidden problem: perfectionism. Perfectionism looks harmless, but it secretly slows down progress. Some learners spend years studying silently because they are waiting for the perfect moment to start speaking. But there is no perfect moment. The only way to improve speaking is by speaking. Even small conversations matter. Even broken English matters. Every sentence trains your brain. And do you know something beautiful? Most people respect learners who try speaking another language. They see courage, not weakness. So stop imagining everyone is judging you. Most people are simply happy you are trying. Now imagine two learners. One learner knows advanced grammar but stays silent from fear. The second learner speaks simple English confidently every day. After 1 year, who improves faster? Of course, the second learner, because practice creates fluency. Silence creates fear. And this is why confidence changes everything. Confident learners take risks. They make mistakes. They learn faster. They improve naturally. Now I want you to think about your future self for a moment. Imagine speaking English without fear inside your chest. Imagine answering questions naturally. Imagine understanding conversations and expressing your ideas freely. That future version of you is possible. But you must stop attacking yourself every time you make mistakes. Mistakes are not proof of failure. Mistakes are proof of learning. Every fluent speaker you admire today made thousands of mistakes while learning. Thousands. The difference is simple. They continued anyway, and you can continue too. From today, stop saying, "My English is not perfect." Instead say, "I am improving every day." That mindset creates confidence, and confidence creates progress. Now, in the next chapter, we are going to bring everything together. You will learn the real way to understand and speak English fluently in daily life. You will discover simple habits that make English feel more natural every day and finally understand what true fluency really means. Chapter 7: The Real Way to Understand and Speak English Fluently. Now we finally come to the most important part of this journey. After everything you learned in this video, one thing should already be clear inside your mind. Spoken English is not about speaking perfectly like a robot. Real English is emotional, natural, fast, connected, and human. And now you understand why people talk differently in real life compared to textbooks. You learn that native speakers connect words together. You learn that English has rhythm like music. You learn that people shorten words while speaking. You learn that conversations are not perfect. You learn that confidence matters more than perfect grammar. And most importantly, you learn that your struggles do not mean you are bad at English. You are simply learning a new way of listening and communicating, and honestly, that realization alone can completely change your confidence. Now let us talk about the real path to fluency. Many learners search for shortcuts. They want fast tricks. They want instant fluency. But language learning does not work like magic. Fluency grows slowly through daily habits, small habits, repeated again and again. That is the real secret. You do not need to study English 15 hours every day. You simply need regular connection with the language. Even small practice every day can create powerful improvement over time. For example, listening to short English videos daily helps your ears become familiar with natural speech. At first, maybe you understand only small parts. That is, okay, keep listening. Your brain is learning patterns quietly. Slowly, sentences that once sounded fast start feeling clearer. And here is something very important. Do not only listen passively, listen actively. Try to notice rhythm. Try to notice connected words. Try to hear emotions inside the voice. This trains your ears much faster. Another powerful habit is repeating English aloud. Do not only listen silently. Speak too. Repeat small phrases. Copy pronunciation. Copy rhythm. This trains your mouth and ears together. At first, you may feel shy or uncomfortable. That is normal. Every new skill feels strange in the beginning, but slowly, your confidence grows, and one day speaking starts feeling more natural. Now, another mistake many learners make is learning single words without learning phrases, but real conversations happen in chunks. Native speakers often use the same natural expressions again and again. For example, I don't know. Sounds good. Give me a minute. What do you mean? No problem. These small chunks appear everywhere in daily English. Learning phrases helps you speak faster because your brain remembers complete ideas instead of building every sentence from zero. This makes speaking smoother and easier. And honestly, this is how fluent speakers think too. Now let us talk about something emotional that many learners secretly feel. Sometimes progress in English feels invisible. You study, you listen, you practice, but your brain says, I am not improving. This feeling is very common, but please do not quit during this stage. Your brain is changing quietly even when you cannot see immediate results. Think about going to the gym. You do not become strong after one workout. Strength grows slowly through repetition. English works exactly the same way. One day, without warning, you suddenly understand a sentence that once felt impossible. One day, you answer faster without translating. One day, conversations stop feeling so scary. That is the reward of consistency. And trust me, those moments feel amazing. Now, I want you to imagine something beautiful. Imagine watching English videos without subtitles and understanding naturally. Imagine talking to people confidently without fear controlling your mind. Imagine expressing your thoughts clearly in English. Imagine feeling relaxed during conversations instead of nervous. That future is possible for you, not because you're special, but because your brain can learn. Every human brain can learn language with enough exposure, patience, and practice. So stop doubting yourself every day. Stop saying, maybe English is not for me. English is a skill, and skills improve through practice. Now, let me tell you one final truth that can change your entire learning journey forever. Fluency does not mean knowing every word in the dictionary. Fluency means understanding and expressing yourself comfortably. That is all. You do not need perfect grammar every second. You do not need a perfect accent. You do not need difficult vocabulary all the time. You simply need confidence, communication, and consistency. And remember this deeply. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. Every confident English speaker once felt nervous, too. Nobody starts perfect. People become fluent because they continue practicing after making mistakes. So please, never feel ashamed of being a learner. Learning another language is brave. Every small effort matters, every listening session matters, every speaking attempt matters, and your future self will thank you for not giving up today. So from now on, stop fearing English. Start living with English. Listen daily. Speak daily. Think in English little by little. Enjoy the process. Laugh at mistakes. Keep moving forward. Because slowly, step by step, English will stop feeling foreign. And one day, it will start feeling natural.